Kelly Dale with Off the Beaded Path. I have a studio location in Forest City, North Carolina, and I have a website called offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. I'm so glad you joined me today because I'm going to be showing you something a little bit different out of my wheelhouse, but it still contains beads. So back at Christmas, you know, when you're taking down all the Christmas decorations, it can kind of be gloomy because, you know, you've went through this time period of everything's lit up and everything's pretty, and then all of a sudden you're stuck in winter nights. So I have a tall, skinny, pre-lit, slim tree that I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna take all the decorations off, but I'm gonna leave this tree up for possibly January and February just to keep the lights going and the house not so feeling gloomy and dark. So I thought, I want something else to put on the tree. So I read this great book back before Christmas. It's called Wrapped Up in Christmas. And it was such a cute book. But these ladies made plastic canvas snowflakes. And I was like, that might be it right there. So I went to my local Hobby Lobby. I grabbed some white yarn, some plastic canvas, and a plastic canvas needle. And I went to town. And I've had a blast with these things. And I think that you're gonna enjoy making these. These can be made into ornaments. You can use them as accessories on like cards that you make. So they're a lot of fun and I think you're gonna love them. So let's talk about what you're gonna need to make one of these little guys. So you're gonna need about 2 yards of just a plain white yarn, okay? You can find this yarn at a dollar store. You can find it at any craft store. Any big box store is normally gonna have just a plain white yarn. This says that it is a medium weight, number 4. So you can see this plain white yarn. You are gonna need some plastic canvas needles. Now these needles are, they have a pretty large eye on the needle and they're a lot thicker for the use of the plastic canvas with your yarn. You are going to need 5 SS30 flat back crystals, all right? You're gonna need 4 SS16 flat back crystals and 4 SS12 flat back crystals. You've got 3 different flat backs that are in that project. You're also gonna need some, what they call 7 mesh plastic canvas. And I'll show you the tag on my plastic canvas so you'll know what I'm talking about. It just means the size of the holes in the plastic canvas. And the only other thing I'm gonna need is I'm gonna need some Gorilla Glue. If you don't have Gorilla Glue, you can use, of course, E6000 or whatever. It's just going to take a lot longer for your glue to dry on the yarn. I found that the Gorilla Glue works amazing, and I'll show you that. And then you're going to need a really nice sharp pair of scissors. And the smaller the scissors, kind of the better when you're cutting out on this plastic canvas. So the last thing you need to do is go to my website, offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com, and grab the free template for this plastic canvas that you're gonna need to cut out your snowflake. So let's go ahead and get started. So you see, I have all of my snowflakes kind of laid out here so you can see. You can see they're super sparkly and I love them. I did not put these on the back. You could definitely put them on the back if you wanted to, but I chose not to. I'm just gonna do these one-sided. So you can see here, you've got your large flat backs in the center and in your corners. You have the 16s, which are your mediums here, kind of around the center. And then I have some small ones here along the edges. Of course, you don't have to use as many as I did, and you can do them differently if you want to. This was just, I wanted something that would sparkle and add a little bit of beaded pizzazz to my snowflakes. So the one thing I forgot to tell you in your materials list that'll be very helpful is a pair of tweezers. You can use a regular pair of tweezers. These are just a little bent nose pair of tweezers. Whatever you have is fine. This is the glue I'm going to be using today, the Gorilla Glue brush and nozzle. So you can either unscrew the top and use the nozzle, or you can unscrew it and it actually has a brush that you can use with it as well. Today I'm just going to be using the little nozzle part of it. So I have my plastic canvas needle And you can see this one is a metal one, and it's got a larger eye to it. These also come in plastic. But that is my needle I'm going to be using. I have my white yarn. I've gone ahead and I've cut off 1 yard. And then I wanted to show you my actual plastic canvas that I purchased so that you can see this is a 7 mesh. All right, that's what you're looking for, is the 7 mesh. So it's pretty cheap. It's around 85 cents to $1, kind of depending on where you get it. You can see I already have some of my my little snowflakes drawn out with a Sharpie marker. That is going to help you tremendously to go ahead and cut or go ahead and trace out with a Sharpie and kind of go ahead and start getting your pieces in there. Now, my friend Joy gifted me these beautiful scissors for Christmas, and I have dedicated these scissors just for my plastic canvas. And I love the tips of these little guys. They are amazing when it comes to doing your project. So what I want to do, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start out and I'm just going to cut out the general shape here, the box shape of my snowflake, so I can get it off of the whole full sheet. Now comes the part where you just have to be very patient. Don't do this quickly. We don't want to cut the lines, all right? Where I have the lines, we do not want to cut those. We want to cut around those lines. So I'm going to try to get some of the bulk out first. So you can see there, my box is here and here. So I've gone ahead and cut out some of that bulk. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of do this all the way around and get rid of some of the bulk here. Again, I know this isn't a normal project that I would do, but I love being able to show you something that you can do with your beads other than jewelry. And the thing about it is, you can also add beads to this. You can stitch beads throughout it if you wanted to, and that would be really nice as well. Okay, so I have the bulk of it out. Now I have to start actually cutting out the details. So to do this, I'm gonna be real gentle, and this is why I said you want a nice, small, sharp pair of scissors, because you're going to want to be very careful and not cut what you have lined up here. Okay, so you can see how that is. And you want to be careful as well to try your best to not leave any like pieces of the plastic kind of sticking out anywhere. Like if you have a piece that's sticking out really far, make sure to kind of trim that up. But all in all, you just want to be very careful and go in and just trim this up, because if you cut one of your lines, it makes it very hard to flub it, I guess you could say. Okay, so you can see there how that's cut out. And then I'm just going to work around, again, being really careful here. Because if you mess up, you have to fix it all the way around or start over and cut new. And I see a little box there I missed. So what I like to do while I'm cutting mine out is I go ahead and I will cut out a good many of my little snowflakes. I'll cut maybe 3 at a time, 4 at a time, something like that. You kind of get into a groove. But you can see there how I'm just going around, being really careful. Okay. And then I'm just going to continue until I have my basic snowflake cut out. So once you have your piece completely cut out, you can actually take your fingers and kind of rub some of the dark off if you've used a Sharpie. You can also use like a baby wipe with hand sanitizer on it, and that will come right off. But you can see I'm just rubbing it in with my fingers and it's coming right off. So you don't have to worry about it on your piece. And even if you leave some little pieces, it's okay. It's going to be covered up. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to thread my needle. And there's two ways you can kind of thread your needle. Way one is to fold this in half and then pinch it and press it through so that you can pull just like that, pull it through. The other way that you can do it is to get rid of your little end there, and you can kind of press your ends together, push your needle through, and then pull. The only thing when I do this, I always tend to leave a little extra out of it. So I like to just do the fold method where I kind of push it through. And for me, that just tends to work a little better. I don't tend to leave any stuff. Okay, now here goes the fun part. We still get to stitch, just with bigger needle and bigger thread. So I'm gonna start in a corner, and basically the best way I found to work this is I will do this whole section first, then I will come and do this section. So I start here on the very end, and I pull this all the way through, and I just leave myself just a little tiny tail and kind of lay the tail down onto the back side of the piece. And then I'm gonna come down through the little box right below where I came up through. Come up through the next box, and then back down through the box I was just coming out of. Okay, come up through the next box down here, the open box, and then go back down through the box you were just coming out of. Up through the end box down here, down through the previous box. Okay, and then while I'm right here, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna come to this empty box here and go down through the next empty box, up through the last empty box, and then down through that middle box again. Okay. Now, this last box here in the corner is a little bit different. I come up through that box, and then instead of having something to go through here or here, I don't have that. So I'm just gonna come through the middle box right below it. The thread will lay differently, and that's exactly what you want it to. You want it to make almost a triangle, okay? Then I'm gonna come across and I'm gonna come to this bottom box down here, and then I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go down through the empty box, up through the next empty box, down through the middle, and then through my end box, and then the middle box right below it, so that you have a straight line and two little triangles that you've made. Now, right now you're gonna see all of this plastic canvas. Do not worry, we are going to fix that. You will have thread all the way around, so no worries. So from where I'm coming out, I'm gonna come to my next empty box down here, and then come through the previous box. And this is all I'm gonna work all the way down to the bottom. So up through the empty box, down through the previous box. Empty box, previous box. I'm just working a line all the way down. The thing I love about these ornaments is they're fairly quick to make. They're like an instant gratification thing. I sat down last night and I was watching the Sister Wives part 2 reunion, and I did 3 last night, just sitting there, cut them out, stitching them while I was watching TV. They're a really easy, fun project to do. Okay, so you can see here, I'm almost to the end. And I go all the way to the end. All right, so now I'm gonna come to the empty box here. And if I see a little thread across, that's okay. It's completely fine. And I come through the little hole there on the end to make that little triangle. And then again, I come over to this side and I do the same thing. So you can see how quickly this stitches up. All right, now what I'm gonna do from where my thread is at, I'm gonna flip my piece over and I'm gonna take my needle and I'm gonna run it through under a thread on the back. And then I'm gonna pull this through. I'll pull it tight, pull it through, and then I'm gonna pull the thread and trim it. All right. Now you can see the other tail is hidden, so I don't have to worry about that. Now I'm gonna take my needle and I'm gonna start here on this end and I'm gonna work and do this part of the snowflake. Okay, so as you can see, I have all my little holes stitched through on the plastic canvas. This is what the back looks like and this is what your front looks like. So I've gone ahead and threaded a needle with a new piece of thread. This is another 1 yard piece of thread. Now this is where we're gonna do like a whip stitch and we are gonna hide all the edging on our little snowflake. So I'm gonna start right here in the center and I'm gonna take my needle and I'm gonna come up through the little hole here closest to the center. And again, I'm gonna leave just a little short tail and I'm gonna kind of fold the tail upward because I'm gonna work up this way so that my tail will get caught in the beadwork and that's, or in the stitch work. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my needle and I'm gonna come around and I'm gonna come up through. So I'm going around and up through the next hole. So what happens is the thread will kind of go at a diagonal and that's what I want. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to come up through the next hole here. Now, when you come to your corners, you have to do these a little differently, all right? So I'm still going to come up through the next hole here. And when I do, I want to make sure that that thread wraps around this edge here. All right, so if I want to, I can come through that edge again just to make sure it's good. It's got a good wrap to the corner. Now I'm going to come up through this same hole again because now I need the thread to cover up this corner. So what I do is the easiest way is to just kind of take your fingers and hold that thread so that you can see there. Now it hides that part of the corner. So then I'm going to come through the edge here, just like this. And again, if you want to, you can come through it again, holding it so that it stays down there on the bottom. And then I'm going to come through it again, the same hole, so that I get thread here on the end. And then I'm going to go through this one more time, so then the thread will be here on the top. So that that corner is completely covered. And then I come to the next box here again. If I want to, I can come through this box again so that I get a really good coverage on that corner. And then I'll come through the box again and make sure the thread stays here along that edge. Okay, and then to your next box, and then to the next box. And again, if you want, you can go through the box again to get that corner really well. And then I'm going to get the end, and then the side. And you can see there how I'm being vigilant about keeping that thread to the edge. Okay, and then I'll go to the next box. And then I'm ready to work around this way. So And I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna go through that side one more time. So I got good coverage there. And then through the side of the box. I don't know why I enjoy doing these so much. It's just very lethargic for me, I guess. You don't have to think about it. It's just fun. Okay, and again, when I get to kind of these corners, I can wrap through twice, and that will help it. Okay, so that one end is taken care of, and now it's just going back to going to the next little loop. And this is the only part that drives me crazy about this, is you've got these awesome little points that I've made, and you have to be careful because they will get caught on it. Okay, so you can see there, and now I'm back to the middle, so I'm just going to come to my next little box here coming up, and then I'll work this one just like I did this one. Now I'm going to keep going until I am coming out over here, and then I'm going to show you how to make a little loop if you want this to hang for an ornament. All right, so one thing that I did want to show you is as you work, especially doing this looping that we're doing, you'll see there how it's starting to get twisted. So every couple of stitches, what you'll want to do is just take your hand off your needle and just run your finger down the thread to get that twist out. Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of knots as you work, and you're going to get very frustrated. All right, so as you can see, I've gone almost all the way around. But what I want to do is I want to make a little tiny loop here at the top to make a little hanger. Now, I also wanted to use this example to show you what your piece will look like if you do not take the time to do those extra little stitches in there to kind of cover up the corners. You can see on this one where you're clearly able to see some of those corners versus where you don't see any of the corners on this one. So if you try to flub and you know, save yourself some time, you will be able to notice. Now, nobody's going to notice hanging up, but you'll notice it. So what I'm going to do is I'm right here at the very end, and I'm going to take and I'm going to come through that end again. But before I pull it all the way through, I'm going to leave just a little tiny loop here, not big whatsoever. And I'm just going to hold this for a minute as I work the next couple of stitches. Okay, so I've got the one stitch in the side there. And what this does, it's pretty much after I've worked those two stitches, that's not going to move at this point. I've stitched around it, it's good to go, and I don't have to worry about it. All right, so that's as easy as it is to put your little tiny loop of thread there. So I'm going to go ahead. You can see here how the thread at the very end is kind of unraveling, and that's just what happens as you are stitching. Okay, but you can also see it's pretty well taken me a whole yard of thread to do this. So my last one, I come up where I started, so that finishes it out. And then I'm just going to kind of take this thread, wrap around the back, and then come under a couple of the threads, pull it tight, and trim. So that now I have the front and I have the back. And now we're ready for crystals. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've laid out my crystals here in the 3 sizes. And the big ones I love because they're super easy to hang on to. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little dab of glue here on the back. You can see it's not a lot whatsoever. Okay, and it doesn't matter where I start. I kind of have a thing of always starting in the middle. So I'm just going to take it and just kind of press it down just a little bit and then go to my next one. Now, the great thing about this glue is that if you accidentally put too much, if I was using a darker thread, say like a blue thread, I would probably use E6000 or something like that for my glue, something that was going to take a little bit longer to dry. Because if you put too much glue, it could turn the yarn around it white from where you use too much. So that's what I love about using the white yarn and just really decorating it with these beautiful flat back crystals, because then it doesn't matter if it turns it white because it's white. Okay. So I put all my big ones on first. Whoop. Okay. And again, if you don't want all 3 different sizes, or you want more of a size, or I mean, you could even stop right here if you wanted to and just use all the bigger size, and that's going to be really pretty. Another thing that you could do, going to the medium size now, the medium size is going to go here in the center. Another thing that you could do if you wanted to is for those who celebrate Easter, you can also make this longer, make this part longer right here, and make it into a cross, and that would be beautiful as well. I might have to whip one of those up really quickly and show you what that would look like. Okay, and you can see I'm just putting a little dab of glue, and the tweezers come in so handy, so handy. So you're not trying to hold this little tiny piece. They also make these great like crystal picker-upper things that you can use that have wax on the bottom of them, but to me it's just as easy, so I don't have to buy another tool or anything like that. It's just as easy to use a pair of tweezers, because we all have tweezers at home. Whoops. Okay, so now you can see those medium sizes are in place, and now we go to the little babies. And the little babies are going to go in each of the little 4 corners here. Okay, and if I get any glue onto my tweezers, I go ahead and really quickly get it off. And then I just kind of use the tweezers to press down the crystal where I want it, right there in that corner. And again, just put a little tiny dab, not a lot. Okay, here we go. And again, if you get some on your tweezers, wipe it off really quickly, and then just use your tweezer to hold that little guy in place where you want him. Here we go. You can even use the back of your tweezers if you want to kind of hold that in place. Okay, and the last one goes right up here up top, and I pretty much use this last one, number 1, of course, because of decoration, but number 2, just to kind of hide a little bit of that extra thread up here where I used to make that loop. Just like that. so that now I have my completed snowflake, as you can see there, and I love it. It's going to be so pretty hanging up. You can see there the difference. I believe this is Montana Double AB, and then this is the just plain sapphire. And you can see this one does not have a loop. I'm going to use this one probably on a card or something. And then this one here has a loop, so it's definitely going to go on my tree. So guys, I hope you enjoyed learning how to make those beaded snowflakes. They're really easy and quick to make. And I wanted to show you, I did end up doing a little different version as well. It's the same exact thing as a snowflake. I just took one side and made it a little bit longer. And as you can see, I actually made this one into a card. My Aunt Debbie's birthday is coming up on Saturday. So this is just a quick card that I made. I used foam, like the double sticky sided foam dots. You can kind of see them there under it to attach it, and then I actually set it under my bead board all night so that it gets a good adhesion to it. But that's just so that it'll stay while I'm sending it to her, and then she can pull it off and pull that sticky off to be able to hang it up or do whatever she wants to do. You can see I've also put a few of those flat backs here on the card. You can add more, you can do more, whatever you want to do. But I will have this template as well as the snowflake template, again, for free on my website at offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com so that you can grab those templates. Also, I'm going to have kits while supplies last that will make 4 of the snowflakes. So you will get the plastic canvas, you will get a plastic canvas needle, the thread, you will get enough crystals to do 2 sapphires and 2 black diamond double AB ones. So that way you don't have to go to the store and buy a whole bunch of stuff to make these new projects. So guys, I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.